I'm shielded, so I've not left the house since sort of the end of February last year. I've been out a couple of times, like in the car, but not really out and out. And I was just sitting there thinking, well, what if someone's like me, but they haven't got a family? How are they going to get shopping? And that's when I started Road Reps. And then a couple of weeks later, I was contacted by Satinder, who had started a mutual aid on Pattons Lane. And back and forth, we decided to join together, and that's when we became mutual aid Road Reps. And we sort of followed the principle that who needs help can get help. We can help with shopping, prescription pickups, utilities. Sat organised leafleting the whole of Medway, and we've got about 270,000 people that live in Medway, and we got to around 95% of them with a letter through the front door. And that's how we got all of our volunteers as well. So we had people contacting us for both help and people contacting us to join. And by the end of July, we had 270 volunteers that were registered with us to help people across Medway. It was a baptism of fire. We started with Google Drive to try and keep everything in place. And obviously, the bigger that we got, the more we had to comply with different regulations, with like GDPR and with health and safety. So there was a lot of work on my side that was basically researching and then putting together documents that had to then be circulated to all the volunteers. And then eventually we are where we are now, where we've got a platform set up, so all jobs are managed via the Team B app. And everyone has been either has been ID checked or is in the process of being ID checked and DBS checked. And we're having referrals coming in from other organisations as well now. So our local council filter through anybody that they find that's vulnerable but doesn't meet the criteria for their help to us, and then we can then hopefully make sure no one slips through the cracks. But we had a coordinators group that set up, so volunteers that were particularly involved doing lots of tasks. We invited them along to become coordinators because they obviously had the most time, they had experience in different roles, professionally as well as in volunteering. And we formed a steering group. So the idea is that we are a decentralized, non-hierarchical structure, but we have coordinators that kind of can encircle the whole of the group and help with any issues that come up. And we had some teething issues with different people that weren't on the same wavelength as us, which is to be expected because, you know, Medway is quite diverse in terms of the amount of money that people earn. We've got very, very massive £1 million houses, and when we've got bed sits that no one can still afford to rent, it's crazy. And obviously culturally we've got quite a diverse community as well now. So there were a few conflicts, but I would say that we were able to manage them because we reached out to our volunteers and found who had experience in counselling, who had experience in sort of problem solving between people. And now we've got 8 on the steering group who their main job is to basically be there for any volunteers that needs extra help. And touch wood, it's been several months now without any drama. So it's been it has been challenging at times. I won't lie, it has been. We've had a few individuals that we've just had different opinions on how things should go forward, how professional we should be seen, and not being too professional is really why people come to us, because they're not going to the council, they're just talking to people that live near them that know what they're going through. And that's why it's important for us to to not have that too business-like manner with people. We've got a mix of males and females, from different racial backgrounds and cultural backgrounds. We've got obviously myself disabled. We had another gentleman who was disabled as well that was on the group. So we don't, and when somebody joins as a volunteer, we ask them to do a skills assessment, which is basically a Google form asking what their experience is in different industries and tasks. And then I remove the name of that person from that questionnaire and then circulate it to the group coordinators. So if they need someone with a particular task, they'll say, yeah, I need volunteer 0010 or whatever the code is. So that takes away the inbuilt bias that we all have. Some people are aware that they've got it and then try to sort of guide around it, but some people just aren't aware at all, and they'll automatically go to someone who's called John Smith rather than someone who's called Satinder or what have you. So yeah, we're quite aware that we are very diverse and very accepting of different cultures, different backgrounds, different religious groups, non-religious groups. So yeah, hopefully we are being as inclusive as we can. So I've got psoriatic arthritis, which started when I was 13. So I've spent a lot of time over the years bedridden, not even be able to sort of sit up. I'm at this stage where I am now. I'm probably about 40% of where I need to be. So I still can't cook. I still can't clean. My husband does that. Like my bum is now hurting. I'm sitting here because my coccyx is starting to go, and that was going to be with me forever. So I know that I need a society to live in, because I can't go off and live, and I wish I could go off, live in Wales, grow my own food, make my own clothes. I just can't physically do that. And it's very possible that, although not guaranteed, but very possible that I will be in my wheelchair permanently at some point in the next sort of 20 years. So we've got our house, we're future-proofing it. We're lucky enough that we own our house because we were able to buy at the right time. We wouldn't have a chance of buying now. We just wouldn't be able to afford it. House prices have increased so much. Deposits have increased so much. So we're very aware that we are lucky, and that a lot of our friends around us and the people that we know from the school where our boys go aren't that lucky. And having my son in 2011 really was the first time that I wasn't working because I was on maternity. And I started just looking differently at the world, at the people that would go to my son's nursery, and really question what sort of life I'd had. I'd quite an entrepreneurial life. So although my health gets really bad, when I'm able to, like now, I will do as much as I can because I know it's not going to last long. So I used to work in exhibitions and events, and I used to go overseas to organise these events. But I might only get a few months in a year to do it because I'd be really bad the next lot. So I know that you've got to take what you can take when you can take it, and you give what you can give when you can give it. So now I know that we've got the house. We're lucky enough to have got self-employed furlough. I've worked as much as I can because a lot of my clients have ended up not being able to use me because of their own finances. So then what time I have got is given to Ma and getting everything that we need to help other people. And I think just reading, listening to podcasts, questioning the systems that we're in. Why are we in this system? We take so much for granted. At the beginning of lockdown, my husband completely changed the garden. He's been growing his own food, and that's just been a revelation to us that we can grow our own organic food. We're lucky that in the sense that we've got a garden, but we now know that there are quite a few allotments about, so people that don't have a garden can register for allotments. So that's another part of me in the background with the Greens. It's going to be campaigning for more allotments, and I think in Medway we've already got the largest allocation of allotments, I think, if not in the south, definitely in the southeast, if not in the whole of the country. I'm not sure exactly on that stat, but I know we've got a lot, but we could have more. We could have more. Yeah, just want things to be better for my boys. It's going to be so hard for them. Yeah, so I'm an army brat. So my dad was in the army, and then we moved into Medway when I was 5. So I've been here since I was 5. So not born and bred, but bred here. Yeah, and quite a Tory family, believe it or not, in the background. But yeah, my sister and I are much more liberal. But even my dad, who's really Tory, is becoming more green, I think. Or he's just got annoyed with arguing with me, I'm not sure. But yeah, been here, like where we are in Twiddle, I used to live near the Gillingham Football Club, so 2 minutes down the road. And yeah, this is where we started our family in Medway, so this is where we stay. My dad, although Tory, he's self-employed sign writer, so he's a craftsman. He makes and paints signs, and he was self-employed, so he and I work quite closely with him still. Before all this, before I got really bad with my second son, I run a sign company and made signs. So he's a massive inspiration to me. My sister and my husband, they're both landscapers. Husband's amazing. He's one of the yeah. I mean, he knew what I was like before he got with me, so he knew what he was signing up to. But he doesn't moan. He does what he needs to do to keep us all safe. My friends around me. I went to an all-girls school. I don't know if I would recommend it now, but I went to an all-girls school. And I think being around so many really strong women that were able to express themselves without the competition of male encroachment, it wasn't all hair, makeup and nails, although there was quite a bit of that. It wasn't all that. It was, yeah, a lot of my female friends are really strong women. Yeah, I think that's been my main driving force, probably, is the females that are around me. I think that we have got more of a community overall than we did this time last year, but I feel that a lot needs to change in society and politically for that to continue. I think we're starting to see in Medway, we've got a lot of support for the Greens and independents. Okay, don't worry. We are seeing more support now for, and also this the consider, especially I said about the development. So we've got a massive amount of housing development happening in Medway, and a lot of our agricultural land is being sold off to be built on. I'm speaking in a planning inspectorate inquiry next week about an apple orchard just down the road from me that's been an apple orchard since 1869, if not before, but that's the first evidence we've got of it being there. And I think that is in a very Tory rich area. And I think now that they're thinking, I'm voting these people in to destroy our land. So I think that is changing the way community are looking at each other. So they're not looking at me as a Green thinking, oh, she's just a hippie. You know, she's got no idea about the world. So they're actually starting to listen now. And I think that will be happening across the country. And I think that as we see more and more changes happening, and more weather incidences where, you know, people are getting flooded out or crops, there's so much that's happening that people will start having to reevaluate where their votes go, and how fair that the actual system is in the first place, that only one party can lead the whole country when we know we're a complete mix match of everything. So I'm hoping that will be seen. Marcus, I think Marcus with the food for children sparked a lot of debate online. A lot of people were talking about that, and a lot of people were saying, well, we live in, we're the 5th largest economy in the world. We can feed our children, all of our children, for nothing. We can give our farmers what they need to grow the food in this country. We can support our communities in that way. So I think things are changing. I do hope.